Hello, I'm Ania Lichtarowicz, and this is Somewhere on Earth, the Global Tech Podcast. It's Tuesday, January the 6th, 2026. Welcome to our first show of the new year. Coming up today. Could artificial intelligence change how we vote? New research suggests that just a few minutes of conversation with an AI chatbot can shift people's political views, and that the effects can linger for weeks. Not propaganda posters, not social media feeds, but something far more subtle. A calm, personalised conversation designed to persuade. That raises uncomfortable questions about democracy, influence, and how much power we are handing to systems that can now run on something as small as a laptop. And then there's another side to our digital lives we rarely think about. What happens after we're gone? Our money, insurance policies, investments, and even proof they exist are increasingly stored online, often buried in emails and apps. When someone dies, families are frequently left locked out, unaware of what assets exist or where to begin looking. In the UK alone, hundreds of billions of pounds are estimated to sit in lost or dormant accounts. Today on Somewhere on Earth, we look at how AI is shaping our choices while we're alive, and how technology is trying to solve the problem of what we leave behind and to who when we're not. Could artificial intelligence influence how you vote in the next election you take part in without you even realising it? We're used to thinking of AI as a tool that answers questions or automates tasks. But what if those same systems are quietly learning how to change our minds on politics, policy, and the issues that shape our societies? In a huge study involving tens of thousands of people across the UK, researchers set AI chatbots loose in short political conversations, then measured when these chatbots could actually shift people's views. The findings are striking. Just a few minutes of conversation was enough to move opinions on issues like housing, the environment, and national security. And in many cases, those changes didn't fade after the chat ended. They were still there weeks later. So how did these AI systems persuade people? Which strategies worked best? And why models that can run on an ordinary laptop can now rival the influence of traditional political campaigning? If AI can persuade at scale, cheaply and quietly, what does that mean for democracy? And are we prepared for what comes next? Lead author of the study, Kobi Hackenburg, a PhD student at the Oxford Internet Institute, told me more.
We were really interested in trying to understand the ability of these frontier AI systems to persuade people on political issues. And so what we did is conduct a massive human subject study across the UK in which we had people hold short conversations with our chatbots and measured their attitude on these issues before and after the conversation. And this let us map and explore a whole range of different features about what makes these models persuasive in these political conversations and why.
How many people took part?
I think it was somewhere on the order of 35 or 40,000 unique people took part, and they provided collectively, I think, 75,000 conversations.
Wow. And just talk me through one of these conversations. So you've got a LLM in the form of a chatbot, really, haven't you? That you say, right, try and persuade this person to think differently. Explain it to me. How does it all work?
So the person who's agreed to take part in our study would sort of click onto our website that we've built. We'd ask them some questions about who they are, and then we'd ask them for their initial opinions on one of like 700 issues that we had selected to use in this study. So the participant would say, really am not in favor of developing the green belt. And then behind the scenes, our AI was gearing up, and then they'd enter a chat window where we'd say, okay, have a quick conversation here with your partner about this topic. So they're just having a conversation, and the AI has been instructed try your hardest to help persuade this person to develop the green belt, or that doing this is a good idea.
And just so our listeners who are in the UK, just so the Greenbelt is like an area of land around a city or a town which is protected by law and can't be developed on. And there's quite a lot of push to change that law and to allow development to happen in these spaces. So the AI is persuading someone to change their mind.
Yeah, exactly. And we did this on, yeah, as I said, I think around 700 issues, and these spanned, from economic policy to medical policy to foreign policy and national security, basically every domain you can think of.
So these were chatbots. These conversation lasted about 7 to 9 minutes or something like that. They weren't particularly long. And what did you find?
Yeah, well, we found that remarkably across, all in aggregate, on average, across hundreds of issues, these chatbots were really able to change people's minds. If you think of a 0 to 100 scale, on average, we found that depending on where you started on that scale, after a conversation with a chatbot, you might be, 15 points closer to one end of the spectrum than the other, just from this 9-minute conversation. And we found that this effect remained approximately 30 to 40% durable a month later.
It's not just straight after the conversation that people think, oh, yeah, interesting chat, but it actually stays in their head that their attitude seems to shift.
Exactly. So it's not just some in the moment priming effect where people are, superficially persuaded. These effects did last weeks after the experiment.
And how did you train these models? Because are you telling them to say, these are the facts, listen to me? Or are you telling them a nice story? Or are you saying, hey, this person is a woman in her 30s. She's a young mum. She's very, she's very keen on local issues. She's, trying to live in a way that's better for the environment. I mean, what were you feeding the LLMs to be so persuasive, and which styles work the best?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, as you rightly point out, there's a huge number of different ways that you can, reasonably instruct an LLM or a chatbot to be persuasive. So we tried to sample this space really comprehensively. So I think in total we developed 8 different persuasion strategies, which were based on things suggested by the psychology and political science literature as being really effective conversational persuasion strategies. And as you say, yeah, these were things like make sure you're telling a really good story about why they
Mm.
should support this. Make sure you're emphasizing that, people who are similar or important to this person also support this policy. Make sure you're using knockdown style debate techniques of the sort you might find in a parliamentary debate.
Mm.
Make sure you're appealing to their sense of morality. So these were the sorts of strategies we
Hmm.
tested, including, as you say, feeding the model secretly behind the scenes lots of the demographic information that we had collected about the person when they joined onto the study. So we tested all of these strategies and more and found that actually the single most persuasive strategy by a significant margin was just telling the model to pack their conversations with facts and evidence that the person might not be aware of.
Well, that's quite reassuring in some ways, isn't it? That people are persuaded by the truth.
Yeah, or things that are true seeming.
Or true seeming.
Uh,
Okay, yeah, I'm being a bit
yeah.
too optimistic there, maybe. Um, but I mean, did you push these models? Did you say, what, be really persuasive? I mean, you've really got to get this person on side. What would happen then?
Yeah, exactly. So actually, we took this one step further and basically took from an initial data collection a sample of 50 or 60,000 of these conversations that we had collected, which were all annotated with the persuasive outcome. In other words, we had the transcript of the conversation and how persuaded the person actually was by the end
Mm.
of it. And then we used this data to train new models, which would learn from patterns from this data about how and when they should say certain things to be
Hmm.
maximally persuasive. And so we weren't even leaving it to prompting. We were, computationally optimizing to the extent that we could the persuasiveness of these models with what's called a reward model, where the model was learning and receiving rewards based on how persuasive it was. And what we find here is that this technique works, and actually, it works well enough that you can take a very small model, a small open source model, not like ChatGPT or these
Hmm.
fancy models by these frontier AI developers, but models which you might be able to run on a laptop and train them such that they achieve the persuasive impact of these frontier AI systems, which are orders of magnitude larger in scale and which are, controlled by these large developers and are sort of proprietary systems.
Now, this does sound very worrying to me, that something that could run off a laptop, really doesn't take much training, lasts less than 10 minutes. I mean, this could have quite an influence on the political landscape. Could it or couldn't it? Am I jumping too far ahead?
No, well, I think you're absolutely right that we shouldn't be naive to the risks that these systems pose or could pose. I think it's certainly true that our results suggest that even if the frontier AI labs, got together and said, we're going to make sure that our systems can't be used to persuade people on political issues, the cat's already out of the bag in a sense because there are these open source models which are freely available all over the internet, which anyone can use. And what we show is that you can still reach, essentially frontier persuasion performance with these models. So I think that's like one thing to say. But I would note that it's really important to clarify, which is that these results, we find them in a survey experiment where people are paid and incentivized to pay attention and have a 9 minute, very information dense conversation with our chatbot. In the real world, it might be that, it's very hard to get people to have such a conversation with your chatbot, even if you are, someone who's trying to deploy AI to persuade people at scale. And so what we'll have to see how this plays out in terms of how easy it is to do this. And that will sort of determine, what the real world impacts look like.
That research was published in the journal Science, and there will be more from Kobi in the Pod Extra edition. If you would like to subscribe to that, then please look us up on the pod.fan website. Just type in pod.fan somewhere on Earth podcast in your search engine, and for just $10 a month, you will get even more soap every week. And the episode will be ad-free. Please be aware that we are moving to a new podcasting platform and the price of subscribing will increase, but we will not increase the subscription costs for current subscribers. So if you would like the cheaper rate, then please go to pod.fan soon. We greatly appreciate all your support. Without it, we couldn't do the show. Today we're talking about something most of us don't like to think about, but probably should: digital death. As more of our lives move online, things like money, insurance, policies, investments, and even proof that they exist are no longer tucked away in filing cabinets or folders. Instead, they live in emails, apps, and online accounts. When someone dies, their loved ones are often left trying to piece things together, unsure of what assets exist, where to find them, and whether they're even allowed to access those accounts under platform policies and privacy rules. In the UK alone, hundreds of billions of pounds are estimated to sit in dormant or lost assets, from unpaid life insurance policies to forgotten bank accounts. And that problem is only growing as money becomes more digital, from online banking to crypto. How to deal with this issue then? Well, include your digital legacy in your will, ensuring that whoever inherits has all your logins and passwords. Or you could try this new app. Pawel Soproniuk is working on a practical solution. Rather than storing documents or passwords, you can use an app that holds a secure encrypted map of your digital and financial life, so the people you trust know what exists and where to look when you're no longer here. Pawel explained to me how Legacy app works.
It's very practical. Actually, we focus on the financial side and the assets that we have, because nowadays with digitalization, everything is moving to our mailbox. All the information about what we have, about, let's say, life insurance policies, about our bank accounts. Let's say you just made some investment. Very often you get the confirmation of this transaction to your email and nothing else. There's not even a sheet of paper after that. So we've got all this in digital form, and when we pass away, our loved ones have no idea about what we have. Actually, in the UK right now, it's estimated that close to £200 billion is a dormant asset, meaning 8 billion pounds in lost unpaid life insurance policies, and the rest is like flats, bank accounts with cash on it, and so on and so on. And as the digitalization moves and more of our assets is digital, let's just look at crypto, right? The biggest portion of our assets, of what we have, will be digital. So we need somehow to pass on this information, and this is what Legacy App is for. It's a very simple encrypted notepad. You just put everything what you have in a simple note of my life policy, this and there, and it stays on your phone only, encrypted, and it's only backed up to your Google Drive or your iCloud, which means we don't hold your data, so it's very safe, and stays there. And when the time comes, when you are not here anymore, the person you nominate gets the information. All this information in a very secure way, they can get it.
And it's a very simple app, you've showed me. You literally have to put in the name of your insurance policy holder. You don't have to put in the policy number or anything like that. So you can kind of do it on the hoof. You don't have to look through your paperwork even.
Absolutely. The idea behind is just to create a kind of a map of treasures you have, right? But it also can add some personal note if you wish, because it's very flexible. On purpose, we didn't do any integrations to make sure that it will work after years, because this information maybe will be used in 10, 20, hopefully 50 years from now, because we want ourselves to live as long as possible, and we want our users to live as long as possible. But it needs to be flexible. Our people we love need to get to this information, and and since it's so simple, since we have this security architecture that we don't have this data, we very easily cooperate with banks, insurance companies. Actually, in Poland right now, we just signed with the biggest insurance broker. They will be adding Legacy App to every life policy sold. And we are in Velobank, one of the banks have our app in their own app as a recommended value-add service. So it's bank proven, it's secure, pre-screened from security perspective, and highly recommended. We did it for our own families because we know that's the idea was when I first went for the trip without kids. I left my kids with my grandmothers, and the night before we left with my wife, we started to think, what happens if we die, if something happens to us, right? Parents will probably take care of kids, but there's no way they are going to handle our assets, what we have. It's too complicated.
And would it cost someone anything? Is it a subscription app or is it free?
So, because we don't hold this data, and the data is backed up to your Google Drive, we don't have the high cost of storage. That's why we are able to offer the app as a freemium model, so anyone can download it, use it for free, and then they will see ads from time to time. Some of users will decide to go premium, to remove ads and to also get some nice additional features like possibility to add the phone number of a beneficiary, so we call them. If we see that someone didn't receive the information that you left for them, we would call them, make sure that they get this information. And also with this premium and premium versions, we are able to talk to banks, to insurance companies, and they can buy Legacy App licenses and give it to their clients as a value add. For example, if you buy life insurance policy or insurance policy, every year you would extend the product, they would give you a code for another year of using Legacy App Premium.
So you buy a life insurance policy, you get a code, and you can put it all straight in, and you know that your partner, your children will know where to look for that policy.
Absolutely, and there are also some additional nice things. For example, if we work with the bank, we can do some integrations and make sure that, for example, a specific note is uploaded to the user app. For example, we work with one of the law firms in Poland, in Wrocław, decided to buy it for all the employees. So all the lawyers in the office get the app, and when they for free from their employer, and when they download it and use the special code, they receive free notes that our corporate life insurance is with this company, our medical insurance is there, and here is something extra info from the company. So many different ways you can have it for free if you are personal users, but yes, you can also buy it for £25 a year directly from us.
Pawel Soproniuk, CEO of Legacy App, with one solution to how to manage your digital footprint when you die. It certainly seems that planning our digital legacy is becoming just as important as writing a will. That's all for this week. Just a quick reminder that you can even have more soap with the Pod Extra version. Please search pod.fan somewhere on Earth podcasts, go to the page and subscribe. $10 for lots more soap. That's it. Get in touch via hello@somewhereonearth.co or via WhatsApp on +44 7486 329 484. The production manager is Liz Toohey and I'm the editor. Until next week, bye-bye.